Shalom, I'm Rabbi Jonathan Ginsburg of the Ezra Habanim Niles Township Jewish Congregation. This video is an introduction to the Ten Commandments. First of all, the Ten Commandments are not just the only commandments in Judaism, or we believe in the world. If you read the 5 books of Moses, you see there are hundreds of commandments. Now the 10 are very important, of course, and are singled out as important, but if you just think about it for a moment, you'll realize that many of the very important commandments of God in the Torah are not in the Ten Commandments. Our festival of Passover, our festival of Yom Kippur and Rosh Hashanah are not in the Ten Commandments. Nothing about the holy kashrut dietary rules are in the Ten Commandments. In fact, the most important mitzvah of all, at the center of Leviticus, the center of the Torah, love thy neighbor as thyself, not in the Ten Commandments. So there are hundreds of others. In fact, the Jewish people used to have our Ten Commandments as part of our daily liturgy. But we stopped because other traditions started focusing solely on the Ten Commandments and ignoring the hundreds of others. And so we were concerned that the Ten Commandments would be assumed to be the only commandments when there are many others. Now, many synagogues do have the Ten Commandments on prominent display above the Ark, the Holy Ark, for example. But point number one is that they are not the only commandments. But secondly, it is very important to know them. They are the fabric and root and basis of Western civilization and of Judaism, and so I want to review them. Now, the other point to make is that the first commandment for the Jewish people, that we understand to be the first commandment, is not the first commandment for some other religious traditions. Our first commandment is, I am the Lord thy God who brought you out of the land of Egypt to be your God. And so we believe that that is a statement of faith in God. Other traditions don't include that in the Ten Commandments. Our second commandment is, you shall have no other gods before me, and don't make any idols. And some other religious traditions divide those into two and make those 1 and 2. So number 2 is no other gods. We believe only in the God of the Torah. And number 2 is also, don't make any false images, like the golden calf or idols. Number 3 is, do not take God's name in vain. Basically assumed to be a situation of taking an oath in a legal matter. Don't swear by God if you don't mean it. It also has come to mean don't take God's name frivolously. Don't recite blessings for no reason. Be very careful about preserving the sanctity and holiness of God's name. The fourth commandment is the Sabbath. Now there's an interesting thing. There are 2 times the 10 commandments occur in the Torah. First in Exodus chapter 20, and the second time in Deuteronomy. And they're pretty much the same when you review them word by word. One of the major startling differences is the introductory word for the Sabbath commandment. In the book of Exodus, it begins with the word zachor, which means to remember. And in Deuteronomy, it begins with the word shamor, which means to guard or keep. Now, the way in which Judaism understood that is that we learn different laws by those 2 different words. For remember, we learn the laws about remembering the Sabbath. And so many of the beautiful customs of celebrating our Sabbath come from that word. And the word shamor we've always understood to be the basis of resting on the Sabbath, to guard the rest, to not do anything that's creative work. Number 5 is considered the bridging commandment. If you consider the 10 commandments to be as they're often displayed and depicted as on 2 tablets, well, number 5 would be the bottom of the right-hand tablet, and it is considered to bridge because the first 4 really deal with commandments between us and God, which we call ben adam lemakom, between a person and the holy place. And the left side of the tablet are considered to be ben adam lechavero, between people. And so number 5 is kaved et avicha ve'et imecha, to give honor to your father and to your mother. And we consider that the bridging commandment because people learn first God through their parents. And we must honor and respect our parents. Now we move to the left side tablet, and they all begin with the word do not. Lo, do not. First is do not murder, commandment against murder. And then it's do not commit adultery, no sexual immorality. And that means it's forbidden to have sexual relations with anyone to whom you're not married. Number 8 is do not steal. Now the rabbis consider this to be the commandment really of kidnapping. There's other prohibitions elsewhere in the Torah prohibiting the stealing of private property, but this is really viewed to be the kidnapping of a person. But in general, do not steal is one of the basic ideas of Western civilization. Number 9 is do not bear false witness. It's another form of do not lie, but in a very serious matter of a legal case. It's important to always tell the truth and be absolutely certain and never swear falsely. And finally, do not covet. Now this is viewed to be a thought, and usually Judaism prohibits actions and not thoughts. And so the great debate among our sages has to do with, is here the thing prohibited about simply wanting something else? Or is it wanting somebody else's possession? Let's say you see somebody else's nice car and you say, I want a car like that. Is that prohibited? Or is it saying, I want that particular car? Or is it taking the next step saying, I'm going to take action to take that away from that person? Or is it actually doing it? What does the word coveting actually prohibit? And there are various interpretations of that in Jewish tradition. But in any case, let's summarize. I am the Lord thy God who took you out of the land of Egypt. Number 2, don't have any other gods and don't make idols. Number 3, don't take God's name in vain. Number 4, respect and observe the Sabbath. Number 5, honor your parents. Number 6, don't murder. Number 7, don't commit sexual immorality, adultery. Number 8, don't steal. Number 9, don't bear false witness. And number 10, don't covet. Those are the 10 Commandments, the basis of Western civilization, one of the many great gifts that Judaism gave to the world. Shalom.